Agatha Christie is best remembered as the queen of crime fiction, the brilliant mind behind Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple, whose novels have sold more than 2 billion copies worldwide. But for 11 days in December 1926, Christie herself became the subject of a real-life mystery. Her disappearance captured the attention of Britain, baffled police, and set off a search that involved thousands of volunteers, airplanes, and even fellow authors like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. By 1926, Agatha Christie was already a celebrated author. Her early novels, including The Mysterious Affair at Styles and The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, had established her as a leading figure in the crime fiction genre. She was married to Colonel Archibald Archie Christie, a military officer and businessman, and the two had one daughter, Rosalind. On the surface, Christie's life seemed stable and successful, but beneath it lay growing turmoil. That year, Christie's beloved mother, Clara, passed away, leaving her devastated. Compounding the grief was the deterioration of her marriage. Archie Christie had begun an affair with Nancy Neal, a younger woman, and was pressuring Agatha for a divorce. The combination of grief, betrayal, and marital strife weighed heavily on her. On the evening of December 3, 1926, Agatha left her home in Berkshire following an argument with Archie. She drove off in her Morris Cowley car and did not return. The next morning, her car was found abandoned on a steep slope near Newlands Corner in Surrey. Inside were an expired driving license, some clothes, and a fur coat. There was no sign of Christie herself. The abandoned car immediately raised alarms. Had Christie been in an accident? Had she been abducted? Or, as some speculated, had she taken her own life? Her disappearance set off a massive search effort, one of the largest in British history at the time. More than 1,000 police officers, volunteers, and even aircraft were deployed to comb the countryside. The media sensationalized every detail, publishing headlines about the missing crime writer whose own life had seemingly turned into one of her novels. Adding to the intrigue, two of the most famous authors of the era attempted to use their unique skills to help. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes, brought one of Agatha's gloves to a spiritualist medium, hoping for guidance from the otherworldly. Dorothy L. Sayers, another detective novelist, visited the crime scene in hopes of uncovering a clue. Their efforts, however, produced no results. For 11 days, the nation was gripped by speculation. Some believed she had drowned herself in a nearby natural spring, which was known locally as a place where people took their lives. Others suggested she had staged the disappearance as a publicity stunt to boost book sales. On December 14, Christie was finally found, alive, at the Swan Hydropathic Hotel, now the Old Swan Hotel, in Harrogate, Yorkshire. She had checked in under the name Mrs. Teresa Neal, using the surname of her husband's mistress. Staff at the hotel recognized her after reading about the case in the newspapers and alerted authorities. When Archie arrived to identify her, Agatha appeared confused and disoriented. She insisted she did not know who he was and maintained a detached, blank demeanor. Christie's return only deepened the mystery. She claimed to have suffered from amnesia brought on by the trauma of her mother's death and the breakdown of her marriage. For years afterward, she avoided discussing the incident, and in her autobiography she made no mention of it at all. The public, however, was divided. Some accepted the explanation of amnesia, while others suspected she staged the entire disappearance as an act of revenge against Archie or even as a calculated bid for publicity. Critics pointed to the detail of her checking into the hotel under the mistress's surname as too deliberate to be explained away by memory loss. Archie Christie divorced Agatha in 1928 and later married Nancy Neal. Agatha went on to rebuild her life, traveling extensively in the Middle East and eventually marrying archaeologist Max Mallowan, with whom she shared a happy partnership until her death in 1976. The exact reasons behind Agatha Christie's disappearance remain unresolved. Several theories have emerged. 1. Psychological breakdown. Many historians believe Christie truly experienced a dissociative fugue state, a rare psychological condition triggered by trauma, grief, and stress. This would explain her confusion, her use of another identity, and her lack of memory about the incident. 2. Revenge against Archie. Others argue that Christie staged her disappearance to punish her husband, knowing that the scandal and publicity would embarrass him and his mistress. The choice of the surname, Neal, for her alias lends weight to this interpretation. 3. Publicity stunt. A more cynical theory is that Christie orchestrated the disappearance to boost her book sales. However, most scholars dismiss this idea, noting that she already enjoyed significant literary success at the time and shunned publicity. 4. Combination of factors. It is also possible that the truth lies somewhere in between, emotional distress leading her to act irrationally in a way that seemed deliberate, but was in fact the result of psychological strain.